Welcome back to Late Night Reading Hour. We are here tonight with a wonderful late night book, and that is the ancient Chinese text of the I Ching, or the Book of Changes. And I may not have mentioned this before, but I am a huge fan of ancient anything. So, ancient art, ancient writing, ancient civilizations, fascinating, wonderful, and the fact that I can read something that is a system that sort of predates written language is right up my alley and something that I enjoy spending my life with. Now, the I Ching is a little bit different than what we usually read here, because we're usually reading literature and looking at style and things like that. However, this is a divination tool. It's a more of a it's an oracle, and while it is poetry, as you will see, it has a different function than the things that we usually read, and I think that's very interesting, and I enjoy interacting with it. Now, I usually have this book close by to me. I don't usually pack it away. I move around a lot, and this never goes into bags. And since I got it, I've always felt a bit like this book is a little bit more than a book. It's kind of like a person. I never want to piss it off by putting it in a box or a bag. I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like that with certain things. They feel like they have a personality, and I have to kind of respect that. And it really is a book that you talk to. So the way we read it, and you'll notice it's a rather large book. There's a lot of text that is translation notes and explanations, because we're taking something that is ancient Chinese thought and trying to fit it into our Western brains, or at least we are here. The translation that I'm specifically reading from is the Wilhelm Baines translation, or the Wilhelm Baines translation, with the foreword by Carl Jung, which is enjoyable, if not a little bit dated. And there are other translations, for instance, the Lake translation, if I'm saying that correctly, and that one is not as accessible as this. And then on the other side of that, we have different translations, i.e. some things you'll find on the internet, where I feel like certain liberties have been taken with the text and trying to explain what it means. So here we're gonna basically read a little bit from the Carl Jung foreword, and then we're gonna throw some coins. So the Book of Changes consists of 64 passages. Each of these passages has passages within them. And all of these things relate back to situations of nature. And I think that's really interesting, because you're taking your personal experience and applying it to a larger system outside of yourself. And I think it is applicable, and I think it's wonderful to think about. And I approach this text in a bit more of a Western way, in the same way that people like Carl Jung or the spiritualists in the 20s would approach things like tarot, where you are revealing more of yourself. You're using a tool that is chance-based, or I like to think of it as chaos-based, and it's reflecting something unexpected back to you, and then you take that however you are going to take that. So I'm going to stop rambling, because I feel like I'm getting into a little bit of territory where I could say it's vague and it's abstract, and you know what? I like that, and I will not do a great job at explaining much further than this, other than showing you the I Ching. So we'll read just a tiny bit of the foreword, and then we'll go ahead and throw some coins. And this is Carl Jung. Now, the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching are the instrument by which the meaning of 64 different yet typical situations can be determined. These interpretations are equivalent to causal explanations. Causal connection is statistically necessary and can therefore be subjected to experiment. Insomuch as situations are unique and cannot be repeated, experimenting with synchronicity seems to be impossible under ordinary conditions. In the I Ching, the only criterion of the validity of synchronicity is the observer's opinion that the text of the hexagram amounts to a true rendering of his psychic condition. It is assumed that the fall of the coins or the result of the division of the bundle of yarrow stalks is what is necessarily must be in a given situation, insomuch as anything happening in the moment belongs to it as an indispensable part of the picture. If a handful of matches is thrown to the floor, they form the pattern characteristic of that moment. But such an obvious truth as this reveals its meaningful nature only if it is possible to read the pattern and to verify its interpretation, partly by the observer's knowledge of the subjective and objective situation, partly by the character of subsequent events. It is obviously not a procedure that appeals to a critical mind, used to experimental verification of facts or to factual evidence, but for someone who likes to look at the world at an angle from which ancient China saw it, I Ching may have some attraction. All right, so they mentioned yarrow stalks and coins. I would love to get yarrow stalks one day and be able to do it that way because it feels cooler, more difficult. However, today we're throwing coins. And with this in mind, we do need to just pay homage to the fact that people do use this as a serious divination tool, and I may be only able to skate upon its surface. So with that, let's proceed. And we build the hexagram by casting 3 coins 3 times, starting with lines from the bottom. Depending on how we throw, the lines will be broken, solid, or changing. Beyond a binary system, because we don't have just the yes and no's of the broken and the joined lines, we have the maybe of the changing lines. All right, so we have our 3 here. And in this translation, we've got a lovely fold-out chart to discover where we're going. We're going to number 14. Okay, so we have number 14, and it is possession in great measure. Above we have the clinging flame, and below the creative heaven. The fire in heaven above shines far, and all things stand out in the light and become manifest. The weak 5th line occupies the place of honor, and all the strong lines are in accord with it. All things come to a man who is modest and kind in a high position. The Judgment, possession in great measure, supreme success. The two trigrams indicate that strength and clarity unite. Possession in great measure is determined by fate and accords with the time. How is it possible that the weak line has power to hold the strong lines fast and to possess them? It is done by virtue of unselfish modesty. The time is favorable, a time of strength within, clarity and culture without. Power is expressing itself in a graceful and controlled way. This brings supreme success and wealth. The image. Fire in heaven above. The image of possession in great measure. Thus the superior man curbs evil and furthers good, and thereby obeys the benevolent will of heaven. The sun in heaven above, shedding light over everything on earth, is the image of possession on a grand scale. But possession of this sort must be administered properly. The sun brings both evil and good into the light of day. Man must combat and curb the evil, and must favor and promote the good. Only in this way does he fulfill the benevolent will of God, who desires only good and not evil. So we do have one changing line. That is 9 in the third place. 9 in the third place means a prince offers it to the Son of Heaven. A petty man cannot do this. A magnanimous, liberal-minded man should not regard what he possesses as his exclusive personal property, but should place it all at the disposal of the ruler or of the people at large. In so doing, he takes the right attitude towards his possession, which, as private property, can never endure. The petty man is incapable of this. He is harmed by great possessions, because instead of sacrificing them, he would keep them for himself. And there you have it. That's just a little bit of the I Ching. I enjoy throwing coins for myself from time to time, throwing them for my friend. If you ever see me, you can ask me and I'll do it for you too. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's a little bit different, maybe a little bit fancy, a little bit woo for what we usually do here, but why be limited? Anyway, enjoy reading. I'll be back soon to show you some more stuff. Things are going to get a little bit chaotic for me coming up, so I am trying to just share a little bit more of the books that I have around me right now, because you know what? I like doing it, and y'all are pretty nice. So I'll see you next time.